Hello and welcome to In the Room with John. And in the room today we have Manda Brassey-Davidson, who's a very good friend of mine and quite a well-known medium in the area. And Manda has been working as a medium for quite some time now, and she and I are going to be discussing what mediumship is to each of us, but what mediumship in the main is to Manda, how she got into it, and what it means to her, how she receives messages, and how these things happen. Okay.
Yes.
Manda, what do you actually do? What do you actually do?
I am a spiritualist medium, and so I receive messages from energies, loved ones, guides, inspirers to give to people.
Yeah.
And a spiritual healer as well.
Oh right, I didn't realise that you did healing.
I do.
Oh lovely. Do you do Reiki healing or do you just do spiritual healing?
Just spiritual healing.
Do you...
I have done Reiki. I prefer spiritual healing.
Okay, that's lovely. Now I understand you run groups as well.
I do. I have a closed development circle that runs at Rockford Spiritualist Church.
Okay.
Once a week with some beautiful souls in it.
Well, they are now. Tell me, how did all this start for you?
It started over 25 years ago.
You're not supposed to say that.
Well, that's the truth. And I'm all for the truth, John. So it started when my ex-husband was working a night shift with a gentleman who was sitting in a development group with a local spiritualist church in Guernsey where we lived. And he'd come home and he'd tell me that this guy had said blah 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 blah, and I'd come back and I'd go, yes, but blah 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 blah. So he'd take it back and then he'd come back with another bit of the story. And after this went on for a few months, he turned around to my ex-husband and said, I think I'd better take Manda to the local spiritualist church. So he did. And that was the beginning of the end of the last century, shall we say.
Okay.
And here I am.
Okay, so when you say the beginning of the end, how did it actually start for you?
I've been aware of things all my life, but not necessarily put it all together. I had been joined and attracted to people who had spiritual gifts, but not realised that they were available to myself. I had experiences as a teenager. The first one was after my grandmother, who told me I was special all my life, and I just thought I was her favourite grandchild. I wasn't, but you know. After she passed, I was in the kitchen and I was going to leave the kitchen to say goodbye to family, and I heard her call my name, and I turned around, went back in the kitchen, and a mug came off the side of the draining board and landed on the floor and smashed. And then I got told off for smashing a mug. Yes. So that was sort of the first thing, but I didn't really think anything of it.
Did that frighten you?
No. I was more upset being told off for smashing a mug when I didn't touch it.
Okay. Did you realise that it was your grandmother who'd done that?
I knew it was her voice I heard. I suppose it's only in retrospect later that I realised at the time it was her. And then I had two experiences over the next few years where I saw her after she passed in places that you wouldn't expect her to be. One was at the top of the stairs of my uncle's house, and the other was in the rafters of a church hall at the mother and toddler group. So I was aware that she was around, and I always felt her around, but I didn't really know about spiritualism or anything like that really, so I never really put it into any. I've never gone out looking for anything. I had a religion. I had a faith, and I'd gone to churches.
Be very careful about what you say there.
Yeah, well, there's many different faiths out there, and for me, spiritualism is a faith. It's how I choose to live my life.
Okay.
And since finding that, with all the other experiences of other religions that I've experienced, I found a faith that fits me, that allows me to live my life and be the best person I feel I can be. So it is a faith. It's not just somewhere where I go to talk to dead people. It's a way of life.
Okay, I get that. Now then, when did you first start to put all this together, or when did somebody first start? Let me put that another way round. Did you find that you needed somebody to actually put this all together for you, to show you what was actually happening?
So I started at the Spiritualist Church, and I started just going to healing. So I went to healing twice a week because they had a healing circle on a Wednesday night. They had they called it a healing surgery on a Saturday morning, which was a drop-in, and I went to church spiritual service on a Sunday morning, and I did that for the first maybe 6 months. After six weeks, people at work noticed a difference in me, and they sort of said, what are you doing different? And I was like, nothing, nothing. But the healing in itself created that energy change within myself that I can see now. It wasn't until I'd been going for nearly 6 to 9 months that I started in, they had a closed circle group, which was a large group of probably about 20 people, which I was invited to join. And so I went and sat in that. And I was only in that group for maybe 4 or 5 months before I was invited to move up to the closed circle, which was on a different evening. And it was at that, it's personal development. It was never learning to be a medium, it was personal development. So it was about me and where I am on my journey and how I work with spirit.
Let me ask you about that, because do you think that's important?
It's the essence of who I am and what I do.
So would you say that for anybody who's aspiring to be a medium, personal development is a priority?
I think without personal development, the spiritual connection is not as strong.
Okay. Because why? Is that because of personal responsibility, or which is one of the 7 principles of spiritualism? But is that because of personal responsibility, or is that because simply knowing yourself is an important thing?
It is, and also, yeah, because with that comes that instinct and that understanding, and that in turn is how you, when you're interpreting spirit and making connections with spirit, how you interpret what they're trying to say to you. So if you understand that within yourself, it makes it an awful lot easier to understand where you're going.
So you know what's imagination and what isn't?
I'd like to think so.
Right, so you used 2 words there. You said about understanding, and you talked about inspiration. How do you receive messages?
Now, after a number of weeks, obviously, that I've been doing this, it feels that it just happens now. I feel that my if I wish to, and I don't live my life 24/7 wishing to, if I wish to, I can tune into spirit quite quickly, quite easily, and connect. Originally, it took a while.
Okay. When you say tune in, what do you mean? When you receive a message from spirit, do you see them? Do they talk to you? Do you just know something? What is it?
Oh, I do just know something. I class myself as clairsentient, so I feel, but within that feeling, I can understand height and colour and personality and language. And I know that sounds like an awful lot when you're just feeling it, but so yes, I class myself as clairsentient, so I feel it and I clarify it.
Do you then, would you say then that when you feel it like that, when you actually know something like that, you get the impression, would you say that you mentioned about height and so on, does that give you a personality of that person? Do you see them?
No, I've never seen that.
In your head, in your mind's eye?
No, I don't.
Interesting.
I see when I'm sitting in meditation or in group, I do see quite clearly, but when I'm giving messages, so for example, if I was to be given a book, they just tell me book, they then describe the book to me, I don't see the book to describe it.
Oh right, that's interesting. Because I actually, if it was, let's take the book,
yeah.
Okay, if it was a book, I would actually see the book, but in my head.
No, I don't see.
I would know it was a book, and I would know what the book was about, and either my own mind puts that together into something which is I can see, or I just know in detail.
Yeah,
You know what
I
mean?
know in detail. They'll say it's a book, and I'm going to give you a book, and it's the internal conversation that you have when you go what, and it's that knowing. So sometimes they give me things obviously that I understand. I have my own language. We all have our own language with spirit when we communicate. Yours can be very different to mine through life experiences. So it's understanding what they give me and whether they're giving it, how they give it to me to then pass on. So if they're giving me books, and it might give me then a genre of book, or they might give me the title of the book. The title might just pop into my head. It's not as a sound, it's just, yeah, it's more almost like a sound then, I suppose, isn't it?
I have had, yes, it is like a sound. I know what you mean.
Not, it's a thought sound,
It's a
not,
thought, yeah, I
it's
know
a
what you
thought
mean,
sound, not a
but
thought.
you know what the sound is.
Yeah.
If it's like taking a memory, I'll give you an example. Let's keep with the book. I might be given a book that I know. For example, I was giving a message recently, and the book I was given was a Bible, and it's a Bible that I've got at home. So I knew I had a Bible, and also when in that Bible, I know that in the front couple of pages there are names written, and it's not a family tree as such, but it's there. And I knew that the message I was giving was about a Bible that this person had, or had belonged to a relative of theirs, and that within that Bible there were names written, and there was almost a family tree, but not quite. There was a relationship between different names and what that relationship was. And that was exactly what, when I gave the message, that was exactly what that person had got. Now the Bible I'd seen would be quite different, probably, or possibly, from the Bible that they had. But it got the message across, and that was the important thing. So for me, it's a knowing.
Yes.
But often they will pluck a memory of mine out so that I can actually use that. And I'll tell people
They're showing me this.
They're showing me this, which is mine. But
yes. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of knowing, which is quite difficult to get your head around at first.
yes.
Because you think you question. I mean, still question everything that comes through. Is it me? You know, and if anything doesn't come through right, it's because I'm interpreting it wrong. I'm not quite getting the connection.
Yeah.
So it is about that understanding what's given and how it's come, and oftentimes the person that's bringing it brings with it themselves, so they bring the words I need that I need to say rather than my language.
Do you find yourself sometimes saying things and wondering where did that come from?
All the time. And I have been told by people that when I'm giving messages, how I stand changes. Sometimes my face changes, the language I use will change, and I believe that is the person that's bringing through the message. I also have a guide who's very naughty.
Yeah, I've got a guide who's very naughty as well.
No, mine burps all the time.
Oh,
It's
right.
really embarrassing naughty.
No, it's not quite that.
It's very comforting.
The guy who's with me is just naughty, full stop. He knows what I'm talking about. I was going to ask you a question now. I've totally forgotten what it was. Yeah, when your face changes or when your mannerisms change, would you call this transfiguration, or would you just call it overshadowing, or what would you call it?
It's probably more of an overshadowing than trance. I have done a little bit of trance. I'd like to develop it more, but you know, we've got to find the right people and places to do that. And that's a coming thing, or a future thing, shall we say. So I feel that, so take my guide, the burping guide. I wish I knew his name, but burping guide will do. When he draws very, very, very close, I have no control over burping, and it can be quite amusing sometimes, especially before a service, because all of a sudden somebody will go, oh, he's here, because everyone knows now when I start, he starts, and it's just that he's drawing close, and I feel that is just the energy of spirit and my guides that draw close. And I think they allow those people that come through to get close to me, because then it's another added piece of evidence, if you like, to the person you're giving the message to. If you say something in a word that they use when I'm giving the words, or if I stand a certain way, or those kind of things. So yes, it is an overshadowing, but I think it's part of, and it's not because everybody's way of mediumship is different, and that's just how it works with me. And it might only last another 12 months, and then it'll change again, because my mediumship now is very different to my mediumship 10, 15 years ago. It's an ever-evolving door of guides, inspirers, and people who are drawn to me to then pass messages on.
Do you find that as you come closer to your own guides, the way they work with you, because familiarity works?
Yeah, I did have a little while last year, I think it was, when I had asked this guy to step back, and I found my comfort blanket had gone.
Oh.
So he's back.
Why did you do that?
I was pushing myself, really, just because, like you say, that familiarity, that comfort, and you know, it's what else is there? You know, what else can spirit bring through? It's so easy. I feel he's just joined us.
Okay. Sorry.
Thank you.
I've got to say at this point that you're not with me whilst I'm actually next door to Manda, and what you've just seen is not Manda burping. I do know that.
I don't do it in real life.
I know you don't do that in real life, and certainly not like that, totally uncontrollably, and certainly not in that way. So that's very nice, Neil, and thank you very much indeed for the demonstration.
I find that quite comforting for me when I'm about to do a service or to give readings, to feel that spirit in there. And he's only one of the guides, but he is one of the ones that brings that, and I'm always comforted by him.
That's nice, I like that. Right, I don't really, we've spoken a lot about how we receive messages, how we get messages, and what happens during those messages and different things. Now, but you also said that you sat, and I believe you're sitting now in a closed group. Mm-hmm. What is different about that and the way you would sit in, say, an open circle, for example?
I have done an open circle many years ago, and from my understanding of an open circle, it's people are like, anyone comes along and you sit, you meditate, and then you give off what you get. So there's no continuation, there's no dedication, and there's no continuity within that. There will be a little bit, because you'll get your regulars and you'll have your mediums. But for a closed circle, it's predominantly about we'll go back to this word personal development again. It's about your own self and your own understanding of your spiritual self, and how you work with spirit, how spirit affects your life, how everything that's happening to you, how you can learn to deal with it better. But within that comes the language of communication with spirit. So if you do choose to give messages, you understand what they're giving you and how to give it out, and what your responsibility is if you choose to do that with people.
So is that where this familiarity with your guides actually begins to build?
Yeah, and
it's like a friendship.
It is, and I mean the group I've got is lovely, and the groups that I've sat in have all been lovely, because what does happen is spirit. I was taught very old school.
So was I.
I mean, and by old school, I'm going to say some things that people, you stand up to say your prayer at the beginning, you stand up to say your prayer at the end, your gratefulness and whatever, your the discipline, and it is a discipline, and and there has to be you have to be going to do it all the time. It's not something you can grow, and you can. There's many. I mean, I've spent a number of years where I did nothing, but I still grew because of who I was and where I was. But when you're really learning, you have to have the discipline and the commitment to get to do that, to know where you are yourself before you can then continue in your personal development.
I understand that totally. I mean, years ago, I remember being taken to a group in Southport with Glyn Edwards. Some people may know Glyn Edwards. He did an awful lot with Stansted. But in the very early years, so I'm going back to the late 1980s actually, early 1990s, with Glyn Edwards, and he took me to a place in Southport, and the couple that we met in this little group, and it was in somebody's front room, and there were literally 4 people, but these people have been sitting every day at the same time in the same place for, when I met them, it was 25 years they've been doing this. No breaks, no holidays, they've been doing this for 25 years. And although it was a once weekly thing, they actually sat every day, but it was a once weekly thing for this little group. And the lady involved in the group would in actual fact go into trance, and you were able to have a discussion with her guide.
Yeah.
They also had a trumpet. It was a very simple bit of cardboard, and it was basically a megaphone, which was in a corner.
Yeah. And
they showed me a flower which they'd pressed, which had come through that trumpet from a spirit world. And at the time, I would have gone, that's absolute rubbish. But in actual fact, I saw that flower, I held that flower, and the colour, the flower itself wasn't recognisable, and the colour was just amazing. It was a blue, and the green of the stalk and the leaves were just, I'm going to say it, out of this world, but I'm going to make that sound
spiritual.
Totally spiritual. It was out of this world. It was just totally different, and that sort of thing, that's kind of discipline, has gone. Not totally.
No. Yes, I agree.
But largely, it's gone, and the amount of respect there is for that, it's not the same.
No. I am very old school in a lot of ways, but I am also of the belief that if you choose to accept developing your personal self and your spiritual journey, it's available to everyone.
I absolutely agree with you. I mean, I think that spirit connection is open to everyone. It's actually learning what it is and spending a little bit of time learning what it is that is possible and what isn't possible. And
it doesn't make us all mediums either.
no, it doesn't.
I just want to say that because I think a lot of people think that that to develop themselves they're only developing to become a medium or a healer or whatever, and I don't think I've met many people sitting in circle who have never done mediumship. I also think that within the development we also learn a way of talking, that when we hold conversations with people without realising it, we give them information that we get from spirit without going, oh, your grandmother's here and she's just telling me you just don't want to do this. But there's a way that if you're holding a conversation with someone and you're tuned into your inner self and the feelings and the things that are coming to you, you can give people options and choices.
I was talking to somebody on Monday night where this lady had a flower shop and she was thinking about expanding it, thinking about doing things to it. Now I told her what she was going to be doing with it, which she already knew. She hadn't made a decision about this and couldn't make up her mind which way to go. But I knew that her mother was actually the person who was telling me these things and how she should have a little sort of coffee and cake type stuff and that kind of thing. I didn't have to say to her, it wasn't necessary to say, oh, I've got your mother here, and your mother's telling me it wasn't necessary.
No.
And it didn't mean, but to her, just talking to somebody about that, she said, yeah, that's the way I've been thinking, but I'm very uncertain.
Yeah, and it's clarification, isn't
and
it?
I just said, you've got to take the leap of faith.
Yeah.
Now, you could just say, that's just age and experience.
It could.
But you could,
You could.
but it wasn't.
How much do you know about flower shops, John?
Not a lot. Not a lot about coffee and cake, but I know nothing about flower shops. But yeah, it was quite interesting, and I think that you are absolutely right in what you're saying there. Manda, this has been, I don't know how long it's been, but this few minutes has been
25 minutes and 41 seconds.
oh, she just looked at the clock. This has been very, very interesting, and I thank you very much. And I would like at some future point to come back to you again and perhaps talk deeper about some of the aspects of sitting in a group, and why sitting in a closed circle is so good, and why
it's finding the right one for you as well.
connecting and why connecting spiritually is such a good thing to do. But thank you very much for coming, and thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, John.
And
Bye-bye, everyone.
Yeah, and I've been John Durham. This has been Manda Brassey-Davidson, and this has been In a Room with John. Thank you very much.